Some say the Nekros Sector was cursed long before the Imperium arrived, that the Shadows remember a war not written in any Imperial archive. Locals speak of a darkness older than chaos itself, a silence that watches, a hunger that waits. And the Ogryns, for all their strength, are not immune to stories. In the desolate depths of a forgotten world, the Ogryn known as Grulk advanced through fields of ruins and debris. His massive frame and gray skin were distinctive amid the barren landscapes of the 41st millennium. Grulk was part of a squad of Ogryns in the service of the Imperium, assigned to reconnaissance missions in war-torn and heresy-contaminated territories. Grulk was not like other Ogryns. Though he had never been known for his intelligence, he possessed a rare instinct. He could tell when something was wrong. And on that dead planet, every breath felt out of place. Every step was like treading on the bones of a forgotten corpse. During the briefing, an Imperial Guard officer had shoved them onto a shuttle without much explanation.
"Recon and recovery,"
he had said, but Grulk knew what that really meant.
Okay, go in and die instead of us.
Their task was to investigate a mysterious region known as the Nekros Sector, where the shadows of corruption and chaos stretched over every inch of ground. Reports spoke of unsettling visions and strange presences dancing among the ruins, and Grulk and his squad were sent to uncover the truth. As they traversed a field of rubble, Grulk felt a shiver down his spine. The shadows seemed to come to life, twisting and undulating among the carcasses of old buildings. The ground seemed to breathe with a dark presence, as if the planet itself were saturated with malevolence. The Ogryn squad moved cautiously, the unstable ground beneath their massive war boots. The silence was broken only by the thud of their steps and the wind's hiss through the ruins. Yet Grulk did not feel at ease. His senses, honed by life in the darkest trenches of the Imperium, picked up the subtle whisper of voices in the air. The landscape was a desert of cyclopean ruins, toppled towers, and craters choked with debris. But it wasn't just the silence that disturbed them. It was the feeling of being watched. The shattered metal wrecks looked like dead eyes tracking their advance, and the gray sky hung still above them, as if waiting for something. One of the Ogryns snorted, glancing around nervously.
"Grulk, my brain itches,"
he said, scratching his shaved scalp. Grulk didn't answer, but he understood. He felt it too, a deep itch, as if his mind were being touched by fingers that weren't his own. In the distance, among the remains of an ancient temple, a faint light illuminated the darkness. Grulk, followed by his comrades, headed toward that uncertain light. As they approached, the shadows seemed to pulsate, as if the very fabric of reality were distorted in that accursed place. Inside the temple, Grulk was faced with a macabre scene. As they moved toward the light, the air seemed to grow colder. The ground turned soft beneath their feet, as if something was bubbling just beneath the surface. The ruins surrounding the temple bent at impossible angles. Every detail felt wrong, as if geometry itself had forgotten its rules.
"I don't like this,"
one of the Ogryns muttered. His name was Gurnash.
"No enemy smell, just stink of sick air."
Grulk nodded and kept walking. Something was calling to him, not with a voice or sound, but with the dreadful certainty that staying behind would be worse. The walls were adorned with arcane symbols, and the floor was covered with strange drawings. In the center of the room, a hooded figure held an open book, its pages burned and inscribed with dark runes. The figure turned slowly towards Grulk, revealing glowing eyes devoid of pupils. The inside of the temple reeked of soot and burned flesh. The runes on the walls glowed with a sickly red light, and the book pulsed with the rhythm of a living heart. The hooded figure spoke no words, but its presence filled the room like black smoke in a steel cell. Gurnash took a step toward the altar.
Maybe it's a magic book. Maybe it makes you stronger.
Grulk reached out to stop him, but it was already too late. Gurnash's eyes were lost among the pages. The words seemed to shift and move, whispering truths no Ogryn was ever meant to understand. The voices in the air intensified, creating a chorus of wails and infernal laughter. Grulk tried to comprehend what was happening, but the dark presence was already seizing the minds of his companions. Their expressions changed from confusion to fear, and finally to sheer madness. Gurnash approached the open book as if hypnotized. The hooded figure began chanting in an ancient language, and the burned runes started to glow with a sinister light. Grulk tried to stop Gurnash, but his comrade turned with vacant eyes and seized Grulk's neck with superhuman strength. When Gurnash grabbed it, Grulk felt the cold in his hands, as if all warmth had been sucked away. But it wasn't just his body that trembled. It was his soul. His friend's eyes were lifeless, and yet filled with an alien fire.
He's not him anymore,
Grulk roared, slamming his fist into his comrade's chest.
You're not Gurnash. Gurnash used to laugh. Gurnash liked beats.
The words sounded foolish, but they gave him the strength to fight back. Gurnash collapsed to the ground, screaming with a voice that wasn't his own. The struggle was brief but intense. With a desperate scream, Grulk managed to free himself from Gurnash's grip. He looked into his friend's eyes, but there was nothing abhuman left in those sockets. Gurnash joined the chorus of malevolent voices, and the hooded figure laughed as corruption spread among the Ogryns. Grulk felt a buzzing in his head. Not a real sound, but something inside, like a voice, but strange.
Grulk, you are not alone.
It whispered. He blinked, shaking his head.
Grulk is good soldier. Grulk doesn't hear voices.
He muttered to himself, but the voice didn't go away. It laughed.
Grulk is special. Grulk sees the shadow. Grulk can stay.
Who's talking?
He thought, but no answer came. Only broken images, stones that breathed, eyes watching him from the walls.
Grulk doesn't want to stay. Grulk wants to go.
He mumbled, but even those words sounded weak in his mind. Then the voice changed. It became softer, sweeter, more inviting.
You're strong, Grulk. Stronger than the others. Stronger than weak little Gurnash. You could be something more. Don't run. Stay. Look beneath the skin.
Grulk swallowed. A shiver ran down his spine. He felt his flesh tighten, his blood pounding too loud in his ears.
Grulk doesn't want to see. Grulk is scared.
But you're already part of us, Grulk. The voice hissed. You always were.
The voice hissed. Grulk, wounded but determined, retreated from the temple. He understood that he had to find a way out of that damned place before it was too late. As he fled through the field of ruins, the shadows seemed to pursue him, tearing fragments of reality and turning the ground around him into a dark labyrinth. As Grulk ran, his thoughts were a storm. The voices whispered from every ruin.
Stay. Come back. Serve.
The wind carried broken laughter, and every corner looked like a twisted face. The shadows didn't follow the light. They moved on their own. Behind him, he could hear the screams of the other Ogryns. Some were crying, others laughing like maddened children. But none were fighting anymore. The mission was over. Now, it was only about surviving. In the heart of the night, Grulk reached the perimeter of the Nekros Sector. He looked back only once, seeing the temple disappear into the distorted shadows. His squad was lost victims of the dark forces that infested that forgotten planet. As Grulk moved away, the wind still carried the whisper of damned voices. The Nekros Sector remained a forbidden place, shrouded in darkness and plagued by corruption. Grulk's story became a legend among the Imperium's Ogryns, a warning of how even the strongest warriors could fall victim to the dark influences of 41 the Millennium. When Grulk emerged from the Nekros Sector, the sky had turned strangely clear. But inside him, the fog had never lifted. He had seen something too vast, too ancient. He would never understand it, but he knew he had to warn the others. From that day on, whenever a young Ogryn wandered too close to an unknown ruin, a veteran would pull him back.
Ask Grulk,
They'd say.
Ask about the place where thoughts become voices. Ask about the monster inside the Ogryn.
Warning. All patrols into the Nekros Sector are hereby suspended until further notice. Signs of mimetic contamination, localized warp echoes, and Class 5 possession detected. Only one survivor extracted. No retrieval teams authorized. Let this be a reminder. Not all monsters bear teeth. Some wear familiar faces.